Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark Alford's Capitol Recap. You know, each and every week, I like to take you inside of Washington, D.C., the swamp, kind of explain what's going on here, take you back to the district, Missouri's 4th Congressional District. I like to talk about the future of our country, what's happening now, let you meet some of the players here in Washington. Well, you know the deal. Another jam-packed week in Washington, D.C. We are working for you up here in Washington and in our district. And as we all know, it has really been a tough time in America after the assassination last week of Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, had a prayer vigil in the Capitol when we got back this week. It was in Statuary Hall, the very place, the original House chamber, the very place where the Emancipation Proclamation was voted on, ratified by Congress. It was a moving prayer vigil for Charlie Kirk. I want to give you a little sampling of what happened at this vigil. Listen.
Heavenly Father, we come to you this afternoon with a mixture of emotions. You know our hearts. You are close to the brokenhearted. That's what Scripture promises. We have a mixture of emotions because we're sad. We're so deeply saddened by the untimely loss of our dear friend Charlie Kirk, the evil that took his life. The nation mourns. The nation is shaken by that. And we're working through that emotion. At the same time, Father, we have this sense of encouragement as well in knowing that Charlie's voice cannot be silenced, that his message will go forward, that his legacy will grow even wider than it might have otherwise, as he was martyred for the principles that he believed in, the principles of free speech and brotherly love and goodness and virtue.
Well, I tell you what, it was truly a beautiful moment to be there to honor Charlie Kirk and to pray for him and his wife and kids and our country and for you. I also had the chance when I came last week home on Friday, I wanted to meet with the local chapter of Turning Point USA, and we did that at the Summit Christian Academy in Lee Summit. About 30 students showed up and about maybe 15, 20 parents. It's a good crowd in the gymnasium there, and we talked and prayed and processed and grieved together. And I tell you what, I'm so excited about young people and what this is doing to spur them on to be bold in their faith, to be bold in sharing the truth, no matter what. And I applaud them. And it's exciting to see more chapters opening up on high school campuses and college campuses. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to set the stage before we roll this next clip. This week's Senate Judiciary hearing was unbelievable. Kash Patel, the FBI director, came to the Oversight Committee, and it was supposed to be just about oversight of the FBI, but what we really saw was political theater at its worst, not from Kash Patel, but from those politicians trying to have a gotcha moment, trying to get a good clip and drag Kash Patel through the mud and try to, get him to quit or what. The knives are out for Kash Patel, but Cory Booker, a Democrat who President Trump calls Spartacus, came out swinging, throwing around a lot of wild accusations about Kash Patel and how he was leading a so-called generational destruction of the FBI. Meantime, Adam Schiff, who Trump has labeled pencil neck, true to form, turned the whole thing into a circus and pressed Patel with loaded questions, shouting him down, even sparking a shouting match that forced the chairman to bang the gavel just to restore order. And here's the deal with these committee hearings. Instead of searching for the truth and having a civil discussion, these characters were chasing headlines. Kash Patel stood his ground. He pushed back. He made it clear that he's not going anywhere. And I want you to hear a little bit for yourself. If you haven't seen this on TV or heard it anywhere else, when you have two people shouting at each other on audio, it's a little confusing about who's saying what. But I want you to get a sampling of what is going on in Washington, especially with the Democrats who have no leader, no message, no vision. They are lost at sea, and so they're taking it out on everyone else, including the FBI director. Listen.
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is my
I follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tears
my
this country
time
apart.
to address
There should be a
your
unifying.
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can
embarrassment
try all
to the
you
division
want
in this country.
to not
Senator,
take
it is my
responsibility
time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making
time
a
is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what
you
my
tell-
time is.
Senator,
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me
Sir,
my time's over?
You may be the charge of the
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator Booker, I announced at the beginning of this meeting that this back and forth talking over each other doesn't work. And I said if that happened, I asked Patel not to respond, and I was going to give him some time after the senator's time was up to respond. And he has the privilege to do that uninterrupted.
Okay, folks, I want to talk about something I'm very excited about. So we introduced a couple of bills this week. One of them I'm very excited about is called the Saving the American Dream Act. We're proud to have introduced this with our co-chair, and he's a Democrat and from California, Lou Correa. Also, Tracy Mann of Kansas was in on this, and also another member, Brittany Pedersen. We all have a background. You know, I used to do real estate there in Kansas City, worked for Reese Nichols for a while I was on TV. My wife's a realtor. My son's a realtor. Anyway, this bipartisan legislation has one goal in mind, and that's to unlock a whole of government approach to really tackle the housing crisis in America. There are a lot of factors that play into the housing crisis. Home ownership, it's not just about a roof over your head. It's how you put down roots in your community. It's how you build equity over the years. It's how you grow your family's wealth. Today, far too many people are missing out on this. The rising costs, because especially there in Kansas City, they adopted the Inflation Reduction Act climate regulations for building. It raised the cost of a house to build it by more than 25%. The high interest rates, getting insurance premiums down. There's a lot of factors that go into the affordable housing and the housing crisis we're having in America. And that's why this bill sets up a task force. So all these agencies, Housing, Urban Development, Treasury, lending agencies, they're going to be forced to create a task force, basically, to find out what are the barriers, what can we do as a nation to combat the housing crisis in America. We're going to talk about mortgage costs, insurance access, housing production, supply shortages, local regulatory roadblocks, transaction costs, down payment assistance, resilience in housing, making homes safer and better prepared for disasters. So much goes into this. And we have a real estate caucus set up. I'm the co-chair of that. And we have, I think, over 120 members now. This is a bipartisan caucus because this is an American issue right now. This is about restoring the American dream and making sure that home ownership isn't just a pipe dream, but it's a real possibility again for working families in Missouri's 4th and really all over the nation. All right, folks, you're listening to Mark Alford's Capitol Recap. Hope that listening to this is really giving you a good idea of what we're working on here in Washington and in our district for the future of America. When we come back, we're going to do a deep dive into our work on the Appropriations Committee. Now, that may sound boring to you, but the Appropriations Committee is the most influential and I think important committee in Congress. Basically, we write the checks for the U.S. government, over $1.6 trillion this year. And we're trying to get back to regular order. We're going to talk about the 12 bills in appropriations that we got out of committee. We did do that. We got Missouri's 4th Congressional District some much needed help and well-deserved federal investments for responsible, rational projects in Missouri. We'll run down all that and more. So stay with us. You're listening to Mark Alford's Capitol Recap. Stay with us. All right, folks, welcome back to Mark Alford's Capitol Recap. We're glad you're with us this week. We talked a little bit the last segment about the Charlie Kirk and some other issues. I want to talk now about what we're doing in our small business committee. You know, I'm still on the small business committee. I'm the chair of the oversight subcommittee for that. We're working to try to get the Small Business Administration back on track, and they're doing a great job with the new administrator, Kelly Loeffler, in that. We wanted to take a look, though, at small business lending. Many of you listening right now may have a loan through the Small Business Administration. We're trying to support Main Street America, but you know, access to capital is really at the heart of all this. When entrepreneurs have the tools that they need to grow, they create jobs. They compete globally. They strengthen the American dream right here at home. Here's a little clip from that discussion that highlights some of the progress being made, including through the STRONG Act. Listen to this.
Today's hearing is about one of the most important lifelines for small businesses, and that is access to capital. You know, for decades, the SBA's lending programs have played a vital role in helping Main Street's businesses start, grow, and weather challenges along the way. But we also know that under the Biden-Harris administration, the SBA's integrity was simply undermined. Guardrails were stripped away. Underwriting was watered down. In fact, we kind of had an Oprah Winfrey loan program. You get a loan, you get a loan, you get a loan. Taxpayer dollars were put at risk. Default rates spiked, and the program ran at a loss for the first time in more than a decade, violating its core statutory requirement of operating at zero cost to taxpayers. Thankfully, the Trump administration has acted swiftly to restore common sense standards, protect taxpayer dollars, and refocus the SBA on its true mission of serving Main Street, not political agendas. I've got news for everyone watching or listening right now. The SBA is getting on the keto diet, and you're part of that. Instead of no carbs, it's no fraud. Instead of high protein, it's high responsibility and high protection of taxpayer money. We're going to get lean and mean together. You see, we have an opportunity now, Mr. Kimsey, to go on the offense. Small manufacturers are the backbone of rebuilding America's supply chains and creating good paying jobs right here at home. And that's why I strongly support both the Made in America Manufacturing Finance Act and the STRONG Act. It would double the maximum loan limits under the SBA's 7A and 504 programs. Raising those capitals is critical because the reality is, as you've pointed out, that in today's small businesses, they often need more capital than the outdated $5 million ceiling allows. Supporting Main Street means giving entrepreneurs the tools they need to succeed, while also safeguarding taxpayer dollars.
All right, so let's talk about appropriations now. Last week, we finished our work advancing all 12 appropriation bills out of committee. It was a lot of work, some 15-hour days in these committee hearings. Because the Democrats wanted to demagogue everything to death and try to kill these bills. We got them through. So the federal government is funded through 12 separate appropriation bills. We have to get those out of committee before they go to the general House floor. They're all out of committee now, and we've gotten 3 passed on the House floor, and those are now going to conference with the Senate. Just like you used to see as a kid in Schoolhouse Rock, when, you know, I'm just a bill and I'm only a bill, we pass it out of the House, Senate has its version, and we go to Congress. That's a regular order. But we've got to responsibly fund our government. We've got to restore fiscal sanity. We've got to avoid the chaos of last-minute shutdowns or big omnibus bills. These 12 bills really make significant cuts to restore that fiscal responsibility. We're $37 trillion in debt. You've heard me say this before. I think it's one of the biggest threats to our nation's security and longevity is the debt. But we've also got to advance the American First agenda. The only 3 bills that really have increases this go around are military construction, Veterans Affairs, Homeland Security, and Defense. Other than that, everyone's getting a haircut. We're really proud to announce that we have secured, though, nearly $23 million in federal investments for Missouri's 4th Congressional District in the House-passed bills. We'll be getting to the details next week on that and how people can advocate through our office to get these responsible, reasonable, rational projects in their neighborhoods, in their towns, because we want to fight for those. It is our share coming from Washington. If we're not advocating for that, this money is going to go to some liberal congressman or congresswoman in California for some crazy woke project. And we don't want that. We want to fight for our share. So anyway, back to the appropriations process. Take a listen to our chairman and my good friend Tom Cole testifying at the Rules Committee, recapping how we finished all 12 of these bills. Listen to Tom.
I thank you for your warm welcome and your kind invitation to testify today. I appear before you on the Continuing Appropriations and Extension Act 2026. Over the past year, the Appropriations Committees worked diligently to complete our work on fiscal year 2026. We initially had a late start due to prior constraints, but that didn't stop us from taking quick action. Our markup process successfully delivered all 12 regular appropriations bills out of committee. The House has also passed 3 FY 2026 appropriation bills across the floor, representing over 60% of overall discretionary spending. As members are aware, the House has also voted to go to conference on our first 3 bill package covering military construction and veterans affairs, agriculture, and legislative branch bills. We have every reason to expect that the House and Senate will be conferencing on these bills shortly, and that a bipartisan bicameral agreement is not only possible, but within reach. That's why we're here today. With the end of fiscal year 2025 rapidly approaching, and with a forthcoming recess due to the high holy days, we have unfortunately run out of time.
While we're still talking about Appropriations Committee work, I want to touch on what I said during the last and final bill that we considered in committee, the Labor and Health and Human Services Appropriation Bill. I said it then, and I'll say it again. NPR and PBS can survive without your taxpayer dollars. Listen.
Now, I do acknowledge that they produce quality programming. That's not the question. But they can monetize it commercially, like selling advertising or licensing for films, and I'll get into that in just a second. NPR and PBS already rely heavily on private support. NPR's budget is 60% non-federal. PBS thrives on viewer pledges. They can survive without taxpayer money.
Hey, I want to tell you a little bit about what's coming up in next week's episode. We hosted the Republican Study Committee this week. It is the oldest and largest conservative caucus on Capitol Hill. I am the Communications Task Force Director for the RSC. Very proud to do that. And our chair was off this week. He was doing some committee work, so I filled in. And our guest was the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. You know her, love her, Judge Jeanine Pirro, used to be on Fox, and great individual. She is tough as nails. And she's going to talk next week about the challenges that she faces here in D.C., trying to clean up the mess in Washington, D.C. And you will not believe the challenges that she is facing, even in her own department, with the judges here in D.C. It's crazy. All right, so here's a little sneak peek from Judge Jeanine Pirro. Listen. Okay, we'll play a lot more of that next week. In fact, may make the whole show about Judge Jeanine Pirro, because it was a fascinating discussion about the problem she's facing.
We're here for a variety of reasons. Obviously, the most important is to join with the Republican congresspeople, talk about the problem that has been a big problem in D.C., and that's the problem of crime. I'm back in my wheelhouse. Yeah. This is something about which I know a great deal. I've spent 30 years as a prosecutor, a judge, and a DA, and I think that we are, with the help of the president, in a position now to make D.C. safe and beautiful pursuant to that executive order. And we're going to talk, and I'm going to talk today about what has been going on in D.C., how the crime has been so bad, and how the president is literally turning it around with the federalization, with the surge, with now the legislative piece that you guys are enacting. It's going to be great in the Capitol.
Let's talk a little bit about that legislative portion, because it's so important. For so long, the prosecutors, before you got here, were just basically letting young people go scot-free. There was no accountability. They come back time after time. Ron Estes, who's going to be in this meeting today, his intern was murdered several weeks ago. It's just unreal. This should be
a shining example, a doorstep to America, and it's become a cesspool.
Well, you're absolutely right. And of course, Congressman Este's intern was shot. My office has been working on it, was there, responded to the homicide. And we now have 3 individuals that we've indicted. 2 have been arrested. 1 is absconded. And you'll be very interested in hearing about the fact that these are individuals who are in the criminal justice system for the first time, but it's not the first time that they've been in the family court system. And therein lies the problem of the coddling of juveniles in Washington, D.C., of prosecutors not making any noise about it. I made noise about it the day I got here. There is no way we can allow the crime that is occurring with 50% of the robberies, 50% of the carjackings being committed by individuals that I cannot indict, that I cannot prosecute, and thinking that you're going to make D.C. safe. I mean, this is not difficult stuff.
Until next time, gotta go. Just remember, I believe in you. I believe in America. And yes, I believe that our best days are still ahead of us. I'm proud to serve you. Good day. And God bless.